everyone, welcome back to Observe. Don't worry, I didn't think that this day would ever come either, but alas, here we are with episode 2 of the Mind Palace. Okay, now before we dive into this video, I'm going to be assuming that you have watched the first episode of this series. If you haven't, it's in the description below with a little link. Click on that, watch that, hop back over here. Once you're back, then we can continue on from there. So I left off the first video telling you that in this video I would show you how to create your own Mind Palace, and I would also show you my Mind Palace. Now, my plan for this was to have a very great, elaborate, bold, amazing, graphically editing, and so on and so forth video showing you my Mind Palace in a very realistic, virtual way. And this idea, this concept was really daunting for me, so I put it off, and I put it off, and I put it off for 2 years, and 2 years later, here I am on the other side of this, still really daunted by that idea. So now with the previous episodes in mind of what I just had here on the channel, I'm going to strip that down a good bit, and it's going to show that in 2 different ways. First, I'm not going to show you my Mind Palace right now because it's not really applicable or helpful for you to see. Second, I'm also going to make this one more simplistic. It's not going to have any of the fancy graphical editings, so much so because it really doesn't need it to be able to get the information across to you. I'd rather get the video out than to continue putting it off. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start into the actual Mind Palace building. So if you watched that first episode, I'm going to assume that you already have your Mind Palace layout picked out. If you do, please comment in the section below kind of what it is. Is it your room? Is it your house? Is it a coffee shop? Is it a video game lair like mine? Or is it something completely different that I hadn't thought of before? Let me know in the comments below. This is just something that I want to be able to hear from you guys what you're planning on using. Also, it might help me help you in the future. Now that you have done that, I want you to go ahead and close your eyes and walk into your Mind Palace. Now look around. What do you see? Do you see a lot of detail? Do you see the texture of the paint? Maybe the color of the bedspread if it's your room, or if you have blinds, or if you have curtains, and so on and so forth. Is there a lot of clutter, especially detail-oriented clutter? If you answered yes to this, I'm sorry to say, but you're doing it wrong. You see, in creating a Mind Palace, the idea is to make it easier for you to remember more information. If your Mind Palace is already so cluttered with detail, then your brain's already going to be working harder just to remember all the detail in the room rather than actually remembering the information that you've placed in there. So what you need to do is, instead of having it so cluttered, you need to strip your Mind Palace down. I want you to make it as basic as possible. For instance, say it's your house. What you need to do is you need to take out all of the extraneous details, textures, colors, so on and so forth. You can have them in there as long as it's easy for you to remember and you don't need to force or focus your brain to remember that stuff. Then, the next step is you need to go into each individual room and pick out 3 to 5 large, prominent objects in each room. So for instance, these things would be like a reclining chair, maybe a desk, a computer, a coat hanger, a lamp, a window, anything that's kind of prominent. Don't pick out like, oh, I have a tack on the wall and I'm going to use that as one. I'll get into the more refined ideas of Mind Palace building later on. For now, stick to 3 to 5 big objects in each room. Now, after you have done that, in every single room, what you need to do is put a number to each object. And the way that would work is, say you walked into your Mind Palace, and the first room that you walked into would be your living room. So the first thing you see is your couch. That would be number 1. And the next thing you see is your window next to your couch. That would be number 2. And so on and so forth. And you get to the next room, and it continues on from there. So say you had 3 objects in your living room. Now the first object in your next room is going to be number 4. I hope that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, ask in the comments below and I'll explain this. And this actually ties in very, very, very intimately. In fact, they're almost one and the same to the next step, which is you need to decide a specific predetermined route that you will always take while walking through your mind palace. So this should go along with the numbering. So couch 1, window 2, entertainment center 3, so on and so forth, all the way around, and you walk one route throughout the mind palace every single time, and it goes by every single object. And the reason for that is because your brain loves repetition and it thrives off of repetition, and it allows for your brain to do something very important, and that is to create a muscle memory. And you need to continually walk this route. After you have it hashed out, you need to walk it again and again and again. And I'm not kidding, this should be your biggest focus for a while, to be able to make it to where your brain can access any single part of your mind palace without any hiccups, without you having to sit and be like, okay, so now I'm walking into my, what was it, that kitchen? Okay, I'm in my kitchen, I think. And then what was number 5? And so on and so forth. It should be instantaneous. You should be able to be like, okay, so number 5, oh, that's definitely the stove. 100%, that's in my 3rd room, it's the stove. Because you've walked through it so often, you should be able to recall each and every single room of your mind palace and every single object in the order, the numbered order that they're in. And if you can't do this, don't start adding new information yet, because it's only going to confuse your brain and make it more difficult to remember the information that you want to, because your brain's still focused on only remembering your memory palace. So I can't stress this enough. Once you have figured out your layout, once you have figured out your 3 to 5 items in each room, once you have figured out your route, and once you have figured out the numbering system to each item, you need to repeat walking through that layout every single time, past every single item, until it is second nature to you. In fact, some people say you need to know it like the back of your hand. You need to know it better than the back of your hand. If you can think of anywhere else, any single other area in the world that you know better than your mind palace, you need to change that. You need to go into your mind palace and work harder on memorizing that layout, because it needs to be completely natural for you to walk through. Once you have achieved this, and only once you have achieved this, are you ready to start adding information to your mind palace. Otherwise, it's going to be a complete flop, and you're going to fail miserably at it, and it's going to be really, really frustrating. But I will show you how to add information, how to expand your mind palace, maybe how to switch information, change information, so on and so forth in further episodes in this series. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button. Hit subscribe if you want to see the following videos, especially of this specific series, because they will be coming out. And if you want to kind of show a little bit of support for me as a YouTube creator, go ahead and head over to my Patreon. You could donate there either one time or multiple repetition times. And that's just kind of your way of tipping me for my efforts towards you. I'm not requiring that. You're still going to get the free content regardless. It's genuinely just kind of like a tip, like you would for a waiter. But without further ado, that's all that I've got for the day. My name is Logan, and you have been really, really awesome as always. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys. You went and changed the game. We're breaking all the rules. Our signs don't matter.